Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Serenity Now, Bourbon Later. We are the Bourbon Boys. We have the episode of Seinfeld, depending on what iteration you're listening to. So we have the episodes called The Strike. This is season 9, episode 10. If you're
Yep.
watching on Netflix, again, I'm John. This is Josh. And the bourbon we have for you is 1792 12 year.
Nice.
So we were going to be talking about that one.
This is one that me or you have never had, so never tasted at all.
Correct. Yeah, this bourbon is actually really, really unique, and I'm extremely excited about it because 1792 was one of my very first bourbons when I was just diving into it and drawn to that gold cork, the top, and I
Right.
thought it was, it was affordable. That was just a 1792 small batch. I enjoyed it well enough, just like Four Roses small batch or something to that effect. But then, upon our deep dive into the bourbon realm, we've come across a few nice iterations of the 1792, and now we get to try. This is both our first time for the 12 year, so this is gonna be good.
Yeah, I'm already pretty curious. 1792 full proofs that I've had, like store picks,
Mhm.
they're okay. I think they're priced really well. They're usually around $50, which for a store pick full proof bourbon is a great price. We also had some sweet wheat that we had, and it was okay.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. It was more, of course, more expensive than some other weeders, and I think for the price point, it wasn't quite up to snuff. But I'm pretty excited about this one, the 12 year. I'm hoping this really brings it around for me. So
Yeah, the 1792 is what I would say what the small batch is fairly young, 6 something years. To me, I like that 10 year or more. We're both kind of a high age or high ABV kind of, preference. And so this is going to be curious. I mean, even it's not going to be, I can't imagine it's going to be bad, but let's
no,
hopefully it doesn't
I
let us
wouldn't
down.
think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully not. So
Yeah.
did you want
So,
to did you want to talk about the distiller a little bit?
yeah. So, 1792, you said it's Barton's, right?
Barton 1792 is the name of the distillery. It's
Yeah.
actually the oldest continuously operating distillery in Bardstown, Kentucky, which that's your epicenter of your bourbon world, and so they're the oldest that's still operating in Bardstown.
That's fantastic. All right. So what's going to start this off? We'll continue on with the bourbon here in a minute. Let's dive into the episode here. We
I'm
have
gonna I'm
again,
gonna I'm gonna get myself a little pour while you're talking.
yeah, I'm going to pour some in a minute. We have the episode is The Strike. All right. Season 9, episode 10. This one is actually a really, really fun one. I really enjoy it. I seem to like those later episodes of Seinfeld. It's again, I think we've discussed it multiple times. The characters get to just kind of run wild with themselves.
Right.
The actors get to just dive into those characters and kind of go crazy with it. And you definitely can tell too when you get the end of credits, and you could say, and executive producer is just Jerry Seinfeld when Larry David kind of no longer involved himself as so much. So the storylines here are very, very unique.
Right.
And there's a lot going on for every episode, and everything that's going on. There's a lot of little things, and then those little things make things very comical and very hilarious. So, I found that the entire episode, all the scenes were pretty hilarious. But so the four storylines, as you and I kind of discuss sometimes, the storylines are always either individual or they're intertwining and they meet at the
Right.
end. And so there's always different storylines going on between the actors, between the characters. We have Jerry, who's involving in like his new girlfriend Gwen, met at the party with Tim Watley,
Right.
and he's having a hard time getting the good side of her because of lighting, and that's
Right.
his entire episode there. Elaine is spending the entire episode trying to get a free sub from Atomic Sub Shop.
Atomic sub. Yep.
Yeah. Kramer is on strike with H&H Bagels, and then George with Festivus. And so these are all going to intertwine towards the end.
Right,
Um,
yeah. It's pretty unique that they all have their own completely individual storylines. This one actually seems more, if I didn't know what season it came from, it seems more like a Larry episode to me.
hmm,
Seems a little bit of a throwback, more of season 5, season 6. A little more original and complex where, I think we talked about some of the later episodes, they tend to kind of go for the easy joke at some points, and this one seems more intricate, the writing. So I feel like I feel like maybe some of these ideas were held back. This one was actually written by his name's Dan O'Keefe, and his dad came up with Festivus. So the Festivus thing might have been brewing in the background for a while. They didn't have the aluminum pole, they didn't have the feats of strength, but his dad wanted sort of an alternative Christmas holiday. So that actually came from reality, from his family. So I do think this one seems more like a throwback to me than a later episode.
I like that you get that from that. So the episode starts off with Jerry and Elaine at Tim Watley's party.
Yeah.
And I like, Elaine's comment where this is kind of like Studio 54, 54, right? With the
Studio 54
menorah.
with a menorah. Yeah.
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 Because he's just walking around just trying to get a kiss, get some physical attention from people, including Elaine.
Yeah, he takes one more stab because we have that left over from the Super Bowl episode where they were going to go to the Super Bowl and then she wanted separate rooms, and so he kind of takes one more, like he throws the
Hmm.
what do you call it, the
He had
mistletoe. He
mistletoe.
throws the
Yeah.
he throws the mistletoe up there and she goes and he goes, all right, and he kind of buggers off. So
And
yeah,
he has no shame. He has no guilt. He just goes, he's going to shoot
no,
his shot. Right.
yep, exactly.
Yeah, so that part, I thought it was more comical with denim vest because here's a man who wearing full denim is got the utmost confidence and maybe not wearing, the most attractive attire. So it's just that little scene there, him placement. And then I figured when I first watched this episode, that would be the end of him. We find him throughout the entire episode because of Elaine, right?
They're called snaps.
Yeah. Yeah. He's flattening or he's smoothing. This is pretty smooth and very fruity.
It is very fruity. I agree.
I like it.
Yeah, I don't like throw as you know, I don't like throwing taste notes in your so I'll let you kind of get through a little bit before I throw out a couple
All right.
things. But I
I'm just
got
gonna tease
I got
that a
I
little
got
bit.
I got one on the front that I really a tasty note that I really enjoy that I haven't gotten out of anything else that I can remember. So
Okay, that's awesome.
yeah, Barton 1792. We're gonna redeem you today. Just I wouldn't say that I don't like your products. I do enjoy your products. I just haven't found one that stood out enough to me for me to go look for it.
Hmm.
And we got a lot of glass left, but yeah, I'm already enjoying it. I'm already enjoying
Yeah.
it a lot.
I
So
you know, I might forget this point, so I'm gonna go ahead and say it too, because 1792, like the small batch is great and all, but I think that the other problem is that we went to where the bourbon world, everyone holds the sweet wheat to a high
right,
standard of, what they
right.
believe it to be good or what have you. And it was like $100 or something like that. They really, really reigned
And
and
that's a secondary price. I mean, we didn't pay SRP for it. But yeah, and I thought it was fine. Right around with Weller SR and things like that. But would I take Antique 107 over it? Sure. And I
yeah,
don't know the proof right now out of Sweet Wheat, and that's not what we're reviewing today. We're just going for the
yeah,
12 year. But yeah, so I'm glad to hopefully find something from 1792 that I'm really really excited about. And this one so far, one
yeah.
drink in, but so far pretty great.
I think that's the beautiful part of bourbon, though, is that everybody seems to love the sweet wheat, and you don't have to. You don't have to love it. You love your drink. Drink how you want it. You want it neat. You want it nice. What have you? Of course, don't drink it with Coke unless it's, Jim White.
Or
But
pour it down the sink.
yeah, pour it down the sink. Yeah, if it's stabbing you in the throat, feel free to pour it down the sink. uh, so back to the episode real quick. So, they're at the party. She's trying to avoid, denim vest or what have you. And then it cuts back to Monk's coffee shop. And that's where we start getting into Jerry and George are at the coffee shop and he's opening mail saying, at least I'm bringing something to this and opening the letter from Kruger. No, I'm sorry. It was from Tim Watley, right? He got a letter from Tim Watley about giving his gift to somebody else.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's correct.
He also received a Festivus letter from his dad.
Yeah, Elaine, it's a card. So Elaine in the coffee shop opens that. George tries to stop her, and she opens that Festivus card essentially. That, and I don't think Frank had intended on George coming. George probably hadn't been to a Festivus in a long time.
No.
You kind of get that sort of, but he sent him a card. It's like a Christmas card. He sent him a Festivus card. So yeah,
Yeah, I mean, later on, even Frank makes that mention. I haven't celebrated it in years. What is your interest? So obviously George fallen out and having not participated. Maybe
right.
Frank hadn't had a need to actually do Festivus in a while. But either way, I love how it's like another piece of the puzzle of George's childhood explaining how George is George.
Right.
So here's George having to relive his childhood as he does so well acting that out. Whenever he has to act
Excuse me.
you're welcome. So whenever he has to like relive his childhood
Right.
for like I think was the different episode he's going for the apartment and he has to go to his parents and kind of understand his childhood. He really
Right.
gets a quick glimpse of it and he really remembers exactly everything he needed to know. So in this, Festivus does a good part of that as well
Right.
because I didn't see the Festivus part coming, but here it is. Here's Frank Costanza who invented Festivus. And
Right.
then from what I can gather, Festivus has got an aluminum pole rather than a tree.
Yep.
It doesn't require any decorating because he finds tinsel distracting.
Right.
The feats of strength, so which is a wrestling match seemingly where they have to pin one another.
Frank has to be pinned. It seems like Frank's always the one that has to be pinned.
Hmm.
It's just who pins him. So
Okay.
because he says this year for the feats of strength, is going to be Cougar, and then it's George, and he said until you pin me, Festivus isn't over. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And then the airing of grievances. So I think those three things of what I've gathered that's what it entails. And it's pretty like a gnarly way to say I'm going to celebrate something rather than Christmas because he invented it because he didn't like the commercialization of it.
yep, that's what George says. Yeah,
Yeah, and because as he was explaining to Kramer, he went to go buy a doll for his son. It turned out to be a
yep,
female doll, and
yep.
as he was raining blows upon another man, he figured there has to be another
There
way.
has to be another way.
Yeah, so I mean, that's just again Frank being so prolific. Kramer is chilling out with Jerry in his apartment reading a VCR manual. I found that to be a little bit absolute Kramer.
Right.
So when Jerry gets back to his apartment after the coffee shop, here's Kramer laying on his couch reading a VCR manual rather than the books that Jerry actually does have in the back. What
I don't know
books
if
it
we've
does?
ever seen Kramer really read books throughout the series. I don't think
n-
that's ever a thing, is it?
No, I mean again, I don't know. If reading on a show is too common, but at the same time, he does mention how he reads a book about astonishing tales of the sea.
Oh yeah, true, true. So maybe a little bit there. Yeah.
Yeah. So then Kramer's now going. He gets a phone call while they're at Jerry's, and he gets a phone call from H&H Bagel that the strike
Yep.
is over.
Yep.
So he's been on strike for 12 years
Yep.
and didn't tell Jerry because he didn't want to know he was out of work. He found
Right.
that and be embarrassing, as if no one else, he didn't figure anyone else would gather that intel that he
Right.
doesn't work.
Right.
But out of work for 12 years and is to uphold the demand for 5.35 an hour.
Right.
So let's go ahead and age ourselves. What was minimum wage what was your first hourly job?
Ah, gosh. So I worked for an actual hourly job because in high school I cut grass and then I waited tables. So I don't know if I had an actual hourly job until check this. Well, second, okay, first hourly job would have been in a bookstore, and I made I think it was 5.15 at that point. So maybe it was 5.35 because this would have been after this point. So maybe it was 5.35. It was somewhere in there,
So you have
and then
Kramer, you have
and
Kramer to
then my
thank for that.
yeah, thank you, Kramer. And then from H&H Bagel. And then my second hourly job was in a bagel shop. So yeah, I got up every morning and made bagels early in the morning before school. So
Did you
yeah,
put gum in your
before
bagels?
I did not. I did not. This was before X-ray school, and I got up 5 days a week at 5 o'clock and got up and made bagels for an hour and a half, and then the store opened at 6:30, and then I left. And, we had plus, they talk about the day old bagels almost being like
Mhm.
garbage, right? We sold our day old bagels. Like the next morning, you didn't sell them as fresh, but you still like bags of them for $3. I don't know, back then it wasn't much. We also sliced up the ones that weren't sweet, the regular, and we made bagel chips out of them. So you like sliced them on the meat slicer and threw them in the oven and made like bagel chips out of them. So that they call them complete garbage because they were day old bagels. Like they're not. I mean, they're New Yorkers, but they're not garbage. I mean, you can eat them. So yeah,
I mean, I think they were more or less because this is back now. Kramer's now resolved his strike. He's working now at H&H Bagel,
yeah,
and now he brings home some bagels, right? And so George and Jerry are tearing into some bagels, but I think they were more disdained with the fact that Kramer made them because Jerry's a germaphobe. Jerry doesn't seem to care for Kramer's hygienic,
right,
habits.
right.
So when he's making sausages or another episode or whatever, so I think that's more or less where they're just kind of like, okay, your hands were in the dough. So I think
Well, then
that's
he
more
says,
or
"Oh,
less what it
I
is.
didn't make these. I didn't make these." And they go
Yeah,
back to eating it,
yeah,
and then he says, "Well, these are the day olds." And then they just like spit them out like they're absolute garbage. And of course,
yeah,
I mean, I've got bagels sitting up here on top of the fridge right now that I got earlier that God knows where they were made, when they were made. Yeah, they have
yeah,
preservatives in them, but I mean, I'm going to open those up and eat those over 5 or 6 days. So I don't know what the big deal is about the day
yeah.
old bagels.
And they really tore into them like they were gonna tear their teeth out, they really
Yeah.
were, acting that out, so it's like, here they
Yeah.
are, like, they're gonna lose a tooth over it all.
And there's actually an H&H Bagels in New York right now. It's at the Moynihan Train Hall, which myself and John have ridden a train into Moynihan. There in the center of Manhattan, and in that food court is an H&H Bagels. I looked it up. It's got terrible reviews. It has nothing to do with the show whatsoever. Surprised they haven't been hit with a trademark, but yeah. And there's other ones around the country. Maybe these guys. Maybe you live near an H&H. Let us know. Send us a picture. That would be pretty neat. I'll put together a collage of pictures of different
Yeah.
H&H Bagels. But, there is one in Moynihan Train Hall there in Manhattan, so that's kinda
I can't
interesting.
recall, does it have the same logo?
No, no, not at all.
Yeah,
Not at all.
I wonder what the H&H in the show is about, like, what it stands for or anything. Because I like to like those little Easter egg hunts, like, those
Yeah,
Easter eggs,
and
right?
the sign says I think it says "Best Bagels in the World" or something like that on the sign on the outside on the show. So, of course, they made that sign. I don't think it existed as it
Yeah,
was. A lot of times I see addresses and things on the show, and I try to look them up,
yeah.
and, they just don't translate, and so I think, like this one so we haven't talked about the off-track betting place, which has got some oddities to it as well,
Yes, it does,
but,
yeah.
there's an address like 612 Court Street that's next to the off-track betting. I looked up that. The only one is in Brooklyn, and they don't match up. So I think a lot of times it's just their sets that they made, and they just
Mhm.
change some things around to make it look different, or put a sign up, or whatever. Their little,
Yeah.
their little New York streets.
Yeah, because 'cause I'm from a street view, it just says, like, betting station or something like that is
I
very
think it says
generic.
horse track betting or something
Horse
like
track
that.
betting,
Yeah,
very generic, and
very
at this
generic.
point,
Yeah,
this is now season 9. You could have had somebody sponsor have some product placement or something, but then again, it is gambling, so, okay, that's cool, whatever. But then on the
yeah.
inside, you can see, OT what is it?
OTB, off track
OTB,
betting.
off
Yeah,
track betting, yeah.
yeah,
So you see those little initials and everything like that, and the green too is an indicator too. It's a very familiar, recognizable logo, so that you kind of get an idea of what they're so that was a good placement as far as that scene.
right.
But, yeah, that scene was also pretty hilarious too because Elaine's going in there after have giving out a fake number and now trying to recover then Invest's number from this racetrack betting place. That's the place he's constantly giving out that fake number. So what
Yeah, she knows he's gonna call there,
yeah.
because that's the number she gave. So she needs to make sure that they have a number that if he calls there, they can call, and so that's when they get H&H's number.
And yeah, there you go, Elaine Bennis, and everybody seems to recognize her name, right? Oh, that's
Right.
her, the infamous Elaine Bennis, and it's so it's like how many
You have lots of man friends.
exactly, heck, yeah, you've batted around and you're hitting back at the front of the lineup again. And then he's like, "You know who's a man? Charlie's a man." And
Charlie.
then Charlie's there. I mean, again, he looks a lot like Jack Black. I know people on the internet have asked or whatever.
Yeah.
He's just a recognizable character. He looks like Jack Black. But I like the fact that every one of the actors in there, they portray themselves as very, very uh, not the most studious of society.
Yeah.
They really look like they're in the dive, right? And they're all
I
just
mean,
a bunch of
back then, an
degenerates.
off-track betting place, I mean, it was probably legal, I'm assuming, they had a sign on the outside, right?
Yeah,
But, it was probably still considered pretty seedy, a seedy place to be back in the '90s,
yeah.
Gambling was still kind of if you weren't in Vegas or Reno or Atlantic City, it was still kind of a
Yeah, I
seedy
mean,
thing.
they do a good job portraying the degeneracy of it all. And then another
Yeah,
time too, when Kramer's there, a different episode, but when Kramer's there, and then he gets chased by someone that's, you know, of low societal, you know, quality. But yeah, so that was a good scene too. And then I figured watching that for the first time that was going to be the first and last time we see those actors, right? Charlie and the other
right,
guy from behind the counter. But then
right.
they come back, and towards the end, another Festivus miracle, if you will.
And the other guy that you were mentioning, the taller guy that doesn't look like Jack Black, his name's Tracy Letts. and he actually became a big Broadway player. He actually wrote and directed August Osage County, which I haven't seen but I've heard of. He actually won Pulitzer Prize and Tony for that play, and then won another Tony for acting in another play, and's been in lots of things. He was on Homeland, which was like a uh, Showtime show for a couple years. So he's done a lot of stuff. So back then he was kind of just doing those little appearances, but he, I mean, the dude won a Pulitzer Prize.
Yeah.
That's nothing to scoff at. So
No, no, that's a
yeah, kind
cool.
of
I like that.
kind of a weird little one. If you don't know who he is, like I didn't
Yep.
know, I don't know him other than this, but when I looked him up, yeah, because I was trying. A lot of times I try to look up some of these actors, and some of them I already know. So Denim Vest, I don't know his name off the top of my head, but he was on Mad TV,
Yeah.
on Fox.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was. So there's always, and I'm sure there's a Canadian comedic troupe called the Groundlings, and I believe he was part of that as well. And that a lot of the actors from Mad TV came from that, and so I don't know his name. Sorry, guy, if you're watching this. Denim Vest. But I know you've
Well,
done bigger things than this Seinfeld episode. But
I mean, if you want to
um,
be known as denim vest or vegetable lasagna, that take it for what it is,
yeah,
you know.
yeah, we'll get to vegetable lasagna another time. That's a good one too.
Yeah, but that
But one of my favorite Seinfeld nicknames that means nothing.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
hilarious. Yeah,
yeah,
he played that very well. That anyway, we'll get to that one. So the other parts of this show where Jerry's trying to find better lighting for his newfound girlfriend because they describe her as a two-face. So I found it funny too, where they finally decide he and George are like, just come here. This is all you need. I like that he goes, yeah, I really like this place. It's just a good poke at the show itself because you're like, yeah, this is all you need because on the show, this is the only place you're at here in Jerry's apartment. And he's
right.
like, I really like this place. Yeah, well, yeah, this is you obviously do because this is the only place you guys come to eat.
Yeah,
And then he brings Gwen back. They're sitting there in the good lighting, and she's all fed up with it. She finds a rubber band in the soup, and then he's just kind of like, "Oh, I know who's cooking today." And I found that weird too, because here's Jerry, a germaphobe, and he's very cavalier with the fact there's a rubber band in the soup. George shows up and is like, "Oh, Paco," like it's just an
yeah,
everyday thing. Like, don't worry about food and drug, or any sort of health violations or anything like that. It's all good.
right, right. And there are a couple oddities we hadn't gone over. If you saw our channel yesterday, I threw up a little teaser that John put together for us. The sign in the bagel shop shows seven bagels twice instead of it shows what your prices are for different bagels. So instead of having 7, 8, it shows seven, and it multiple times in the episode, and I had never caught it once until John pointed it out. But twice
Yeah.
there are prices for 7 bagels instead of seven and then 8.
And the prices have changed. So for 7 bagels, it's 2 different prices seemingly because they didn't
Yeah.
change the price. They changed the prices they should have, but not the actual quantity.
Yeah,
That was
anytime we get a
funny.
price on a Seinfeld, I'm always, wanting to go back to that. I don't want to go back to what I made in 1996, but I
Yeah.
want to go.
Do you
And I,
you give you because I would pause this episode pretty often. Do you have any idea when the bagel shop closes during weekdays? Can you take a
no,
guess?
I didn't see the closes during weekdays. I'm gonna go 2 o'clock.
2 o'clock in the afternoon?
Yeah,
No, sir. This is the city that never sleeps. So 9 p.m.
no,
Yep,
no,
that's what the
no,
store hours on the weekdays are like 9 p.m. it closes.
no bagel shop in New York City is open till
Well,
9
then I'm
p.m.
sitting there going, well, day old bagels. Like you guys, it was just actually a few hours old bagels because they close at 9, right?
No, no. Every bagel shop ever is like 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Like you have lunch because people kind of translate like sandwiches to but nobody's serving dinner at a bagel shop. That's not a thing.
Yeah. Just, but it's stuff
Yeah, I
like
didn't.
that. I'll pause episodes. I'm like, look at this. This is silly.
Yeah,
Yeah, going forward, you got the Human Fund, which is actually pretty comical because uh, Josh actually sent me for Christmas uh,
yes.
a letter that said, where is it?
Do
I'll
you
have to
have it?
put, I have it here somewhere, but it's actually a donation has been made in your name to the Human Fund. So for Christmas, Josh had sent me, as we tend to sometimes do, we'll send just random items, random gifts. Sometimes it's Seinfeld related, sometimes it's not, bourbon, what have you. But
Right.
Josh sent me randomly this card where a donation has been donated in my name to the Human Fund.
You're welcome. Money for people.
And I have several of them, money for people.
There you
So
go.
I fully intend to put these in my employees' Christmas stockings this Christmas, and they can enjoy the reaction. They'll probably have no idea,
No idea. No idea.
but that's what they're getting.
Put our podcast address on the back so they can catch up.
Yeah, there you go.
Put a QR code for this episode on the back, and then they can come watch it and figure out what the heck it means.
Yeah. So that
There you go.
yeah, hilarious. Um, yeah. So that part of the episode's hilarious too because it's here's George now completely enlightened with the gift. Well, first he feels robbed because this was done to him, but he does it to
Right.
other people, and he's like, "This is the greatest thing ever." And the hypocrisy as classic George, right?
An eye for an eye. Where's your Christmas spirit?
Yeah. And then, that's where Jerry gets this, greater glimpse into who George is, or it's as if he doesn't know him better than anyone else. Because George get this power trip of about how when he now has the $20,000 from Kruger, he's like, I want to be a philanthropist. And, all these people would owe me and they would owe me big and just like
They'll owe
power
me big
tripping
time.
George. Yeah. Classic George, where he would power trip if he could. So
Yeah.
thank goodness he's not king, right? Um, yeah, so the Festivus portion to me in this episode was actually the most hilarious part because, Frank or the actor, he never breaks character. He doesn't laugh. He doesn't any of that stuff. He just rolls with it. All these other episodes and scenes, whether it be him and Elaine or whatever, he does such a good job. He stays in character, and
Yeah.
that form of his comedy where he's not taking it super serious, but his stoic face to all these types of things that he encounters in the show, he's absolutely hilarious. So the concept of about Festivus and dragging George through this, I mean, you can only think about the childhood trauma that may ensued on him, making George who he is.
For sure. And one thing at the dinner too, after they all get settled and everything, and I get there's like extra guests, but Estelle brings out this little platter of meat. There's a little bowl of mashed potatoes, a little bit of peas, and this platter of meat. Like they're all gonna like nosh on this big giant meal that they made that there's not near enough food for. And that Kramer also, Kramer's into Festivus the whole episode. He's this is a big thing, and then all of a sudden he's got to work, and it's like, this holiday's a little out there, Frank. He just gives
Yeah.
up, like everything else. It's like the steps, the levels in the apartment.
Yes.
He gives up on everything so quickly.
That was a weird twist because here he is. He goes, I forgot I had to work a double shift. And you're like, wait, I thought you were on strike. And that's what even they'd said. He goes, well, I had to use their bathroom. Going back to where the reason that he stopped picketing in the first place was because they wouldn't let him use the
He'll
bathroom
use
when
the
he was
bathroom,
picketing.
right?
But he caves on a place that he's struck, had been a strike with twice, and he still wants to work there. Just go get another job, man. But he's got to go work a double shift, so he leaves, and he has this like almost epiphany where it's almost like where Kramer comes come to an awakening, and he goes, "This is just you know an avatar. This is a different world. This is something else." Like he goes, "I don't belong here. This is weird." He goes, like, "This is a very weird kind of holiday. It's out there." You know, I thought that was pretty funny, and I didn't really see that coming. So I also liked how Kruger, when all this is going on, he's just kind of like he he just opens up a flask and he just starts drinking, and he's just like whatever. He just doesn't care.
No,
He-
no. Kruger's a great character, even though he's only in what, maybe 5 episodes.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
George works there for maybe half of season 9. So yeah, I like that a lot too. That he's just, yeah. How about George
yeah,
for the feats of strength?
Kruger Industrial Smoothing. We don't care, and it shows. Yeah,
Very
so
much so.
we'll dive
Another
into
another oddity with signs. I think we really like the signs. We find a lot of them in the off-track betting place. Elaine goes to place her
say
bet,
again.
and right there in front of her says "No verbal bets." Like you've got to write
Oh,
in your bets.
yep.
And yeah, she says put a sawback on Captain Nemo in the fifth at Belmont or whatever. And first at the end of the episode, nice little comedic moment. She said, "How'd my horse do? He had to be shot."
What's so weird too is it's like with Kramer with his history of gambling addiction, but then here Elaine busts out this terminology for gambling. I'm like, I don't know what she even said either. She like sounded like she's a pro throwing down a verbal bet that you shouldn't be doing.
And I should have looked it up, but a sawbuck. I'm assuming a sawbuck's a 20. I don't know what a sawbuck is. Yeah,
No,
I don't
nor
know
do
either.
I, dude.
And we're right here in the middle of filming, so I'm not going to go look it up. But yeah, if you know in the comments, write it down. It's a certain bill, and I don't know what it is, but we're going to say it's a 20. I'm going to guess it's a 20. I don't know what a salt buck is. So, old term for money that I'm not aware of. So,
Just comment, fill us in, educate us, people.
and we hadn't talked much about Tim Watley. He's in this, couple scenes, and this is probably our fourth time with him. I would say
Hmm.
somewhere in there. And this is probably the last time. Maybe the finale is Tim in the finale. I always feel
No,
like everybody's in the finale,
Tim Watley's not in the finale now that I think
not in
about
the
it.
finale.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably not. For some reason, I always think like every character is in the finale, and a lot of them are. But,
Well,
he gives one of the best comedic moments of the show just because it threw everybody. So, there's outtakes, I think probably on the
hmm
DVDs or that I've seen before, where, he sees Gwen and, she's in that bad lighting. He looks at Jerry and he just kinda clears his teeth a little bit,
is it
but it's in Jerry in absolute hysterics. So, more known, I mean, he was on Malcolm, I mean, we've talked about him before. We've already been over Tim Watley once, but being on Malcolm in the Middle is a good comedic actor, but then, over of course to Breaking Bad is a great dramatic actor. And so sometimes he just has the panache for that little thing that just is you know, really funny, and it's hitting Jerry in hysterics that he just kind of looked at and went like that, like, I don't
yeah.
know what to tell you, buddy, So I like
Well, he
that
wouldn't
too.
be in the. I guess he wouldn't be in the finale now that I think about it, because they never did anything like mean or duplicitous to him. So it's like it wouldn't. It would make sense, you know.
True, true.
But
I mean, just the character, all those character witnesses, you think they would have called him in, but
yeah,
Bryan
but no,
Cranston probably wasn't available for it. So
yeah, I agree with that acting point though too, because how many takes did they have to do? Because Jerry keeps breaking, character. It's just, and he repeats himself again. He does it so well naturally that it's just Jerry can't hold the character.
yeah, and it's not typically him. It's usually Elaine. It's usually Julia Louis Dreyfus who's the one who breaks up the scenes. So one of the classic ones is when they're waiting for the rental car. Jerry's trying to get the rental car, and she
Hmm.
just keeps going, and they keep trying to say go again, and he's like, "You don't want to because Julia's laughing."
Yeah.
So he doesn't break very often. Of course, then um, Kramer never breaks. He's such a, and I think Jerry Stiller pretty close to that too. He's
Yeah.
he doesn't break. He's that
Yeah.
that much a professional. So, but Jerry definitely in that one he broke. So they had to film it quite a few times. So how we doing on the 1792 12 year? Yeah, I've really enjoyed it. Give me a couple tasty notes that you might have
Okay.
before I throw mine out there, because I've got a couple strong ones that I really liked and I don't get all out. What do you
So
think?
that that sip right there, it had a lot more heat to it than the first one,
Okay,
but
okay,
on the nose is very smooth, very floral, and on the palate is the same thing. I'm getting sweetness. There's that higher ethanol on that sip than there was on the first,
okay.
but it's
Do you have a what's your proof level on that bottle there, buddy? I don't
let
think we
me
went over that.
interrogate. 96.6 proof.
I would say that's pretty accurate for how what I'm tasting. Yeah.
All right, so looking at the back here, rich flavors of vanilla,
Hold
cocoa.
hold hold on. Let me give you mine first before you
Fire
read
away.
off the bottle there, buddy boy.
Go ahead.
Dark cocoa was one that I got after a while. Black tea is the first one that I was going to tell you about. There on the front of the palate, I get like just a big black tea flavor that I really like it. I don't get that off a lot of bourbons. I think
Okay.
it's sort of in those longer age bourbons we like to talk about tobacco,
Yeah.
and I think that's sort of what I'm getting is
Yeah.
tobacco, but not quite that cigar
Yeah.
blend smokiness that you get. It's toned down a little bit, and I'm got like a sort of a black tea, sort of
Okay.
cardamom black tea, sort of, and then sort of on the sides of my palate as it goes on, I get that dark cocoa. So
Okay.
yeah, once you pull the off the back of the bottle there and see what Barton 1792 says about their bourbon,
Yeah.
but
I was gonna say, so what I'm getting actually is like that. I'm actually, 'cause I can actually get the notes on this, but I'm actually getting like a black licorice, and I'm getting that tobacco. And I don't like the palate to black licorice, but when it comes to this, it's not like it's a harsh or really strong.
yeah,
But 12 years is a long time to wait, but patience has its reward. It's impeccable bourbon, satisfying result, maturing for more than a decade in the finest charred American white oak barrels, which, as we know, is a requirement for bourbon.
correct,
Rich flavors of vanilla, cocoa abound in this full-bodied bourbon after spending 12 years in oak. The delicate fruit notes in this whiskey are met with lingering, smoky finish that is more complex than most. And I agree. That's definitely, I would say, worth what we got it for, worth the adventure that we went. Because again, us buying this was we saw it. We saw it once. I actually went back a second time, and
Yeah.
that's when I bought it because I think somebody else had it for more money, but it's also a rare find. You don't see it very often, so I'm really glad
Honestly,
I picked it
can't
up.
remember seeing it since. There are a few iterations that you just don't see. Sweet wheat, you don't see. They did have a cognac finish one, and if you notice around the bottles, the way you can tell without reading the labeling is the neck. The neck are different colors. Like I think yours
Yes.
might be gray, just
Yeah,
gray or black.
it's gray. No, the black is I believe
Gray.
the full proof said I have that one as
Is
well.
black. There's an orange one, and that's how you tell the differences from afar if you're just looking. And now I think there's a sherry or a port finished one that they have. I don't think they have the
Mhm.
cognac. The cognac one I know was pretty popular, and I don't think they have it anymore. But I know they're still producing 12 year. I just don't see it. But the only thing that I can think of off the top of my head, 12-year wise, just popping in, is the Knob Creek, and
Mhm.
these are two completely different. And I always tout Knob 12. I like this better.
I do too.
I like this better. I like the notes on it. I like that it's not super overpowering. I mean, I'm still sitting here even a few minutes after a taste and getting that black tea,
Yes.
which I like. I'm a Southern boy, so you give me anything that tastes like tea, I'm gonna be a happy guy.
Well,
And
yeah, it has a good note to it, but I love that it lingers. It doesn't wash off quickly.
yeah,
I love that you compared it to the knob too, because have
yeah,
the fit. We drank that. No, I have a 15. We drank the 18. Now we got the 21 year. That'd be a hard one to crack, that one. But I definitely, for this one, this 12 year is great. I'm really curious because I have the full proof and we both like the higher proofs. That one, this is basically that full proof will be this on steroids. So I'm pretty excited about that one.
yeah. No, I've had the foolproof. I don't know if we bought them at the same time. I know there was that little store there where we lived in Massachusetts. I think we may both have bought one. I've since given mine away. I drank some of it. And I had a guy who said, he really loved the foolproof picks. And so I gave the rest of that one away. I don't have it anymore. But I didn't, I liked it. I didn't hate it. But at the price point for a $50 barrel proof store pick bourbon, I mean, that's a
yeah,
great price point.
yeah.
Um, so I mean, I would be completely fine purchasing this one at $100. I think that would be fine. I think SRP is probably below that. I know we paid a little more than that. The full secondary is probably closer to 150 or so. But I mean, if you find this one for $100, I don't think you would go wrong picking it up.
No, no, no. I really would like to try those port finish. I'm a sucker for finished rum, cask finish, all those things. But yeah, the 12 year, that year is, I mean, it's got a lot of complexity there, notes. And typically I'm not the one that can pick up those kind of notes. This thing has a multitude of different, taste palettes to it. I like it. I think that it's great. I think it's a shame that it's as hard as it is to find. Cause again, for what you could pay for it, it's a good drink. And I don't think it should be that difficult to find, especially
I
with
just don't think
17 that,
Yeah, I just don't think they produce a lot of it. I
okay.
just don't think they put a lot of it out. I don't think 1792 is a brand that, I hear a lot of people,
Right.
hoarding. Typically, we talk about with bourbon, I don't typically go for those 15, 18, 20 year, 1 year. It's just too long for me. It ends up getting leathery, and I don't like the leathery. I don't like that. I just like the leather couch taste.
Yeah.
And so Knob 18 kind of gets into that for me. The one is Elijah 18 that we had
Yes.
that one was not too much on the leather, but I feel like if this went to 18, it would go too far. 12 is perfect.
Yeah, I can
Um,
agree with that very much so, but, the 18, the Elijah 18 was phenomenal. I polished it off really, really quickly, and I know 118 versus another, right? They're so different, and, it's kinda what we're talking about here,
yeah.
but it's 12 year. Yeah, you're right, this might be in that r perfect middle ground that it deserves, but again, they have so many different iterations, and it doesn't have that whole, Buffalo Trace and Blanton's and stuff like that where these people are chasing the stuff, so that would make sense that it's hard to find because there's only so much that they make.
And here's a big tip for you. If you enjoy Barton's 1792, they actually source out to Costco. So if you're ever at Costco and you see the Kirkland single barrel or any of those that Costco puts out, those are actually sourced from Barton 1792 at a better price point. So if you enjoy their stuff, that's a great way of getting a budget pour of their products. I don't think they have the 12-year, but this only comes from the distillery itself, as far as I know. But since we're talking about it, what do you think? What's your rating on our bourbon today, my friend?
Well, uh all things considered, I'm gonna go right for 7-9.
7.9. That's a great score because that is exactly what I was going to pick out as well. 7.9. Thanks for the easy math today, John, as you do sometimes, and we're going to put that one together as 7.9 together. I hesitate to go up to the eights on it because
Yeah.
I do really enjoy it. It's not knocking my socks off, but the tasting notes are unique enough to me. Typically, I'm not going to look for a 12-year bourbon. Usually, like I said, they're a little overdone to me, a
Yeah.
little overdone with the smoke and everything like that. But I think they've controlled these well enough. I feel like these are rotated out to make sure that they're not getting too much age on it. And yeah, I enjoyed a lot. So I think 7.9 is a nice hefty score. It's going to put it up into top tier, not top tier, but
Yeah.
definitely up there.
Yeah, I mean, I would get MSRP price, I'd pay that, especially if it were more readily available, that too, but, you know, all bourbons are great, it's all good, all bourbons are great.
Yeah. So great job, Barton 1792. I really enjoy the product. I mean, as far as I've tasted of their stuff, this is the penultimate. This is the best one I've had by a good
Mhm,
long shot, and I really like it a lot. So and then on the episode, Festivus has always, been. I enjoy the Festivus just kind of outside the episode, just as a thing. I know there are a lot of people who like celebrate Festivus as like a sort of like a jokey little holiday,
yeah,
and culturally it still lives on. In a earlier episode, John actually had the glasses that we drank out of, the Festivus glasses that he found. So culturally, it's still a thing that kind of exists and people talk about and people know. Um, I like that it's 4 different storylines, so that got me, got me to a bigger score, I think. Feels like an earlier episode. I know you tend to enjoy the later episodes, and I don't sometimes because I just
mhm.
feel like they go for the easy route, the easy joke, and the writing is not as big, but this one, the writing is definitely there. So I think I'm gonna match, that bourbon score today. I like 7.9. It's more of a top tier episode for me, just a lot of moments to it. Maybe it's one I've watched too many times. I feel like sometimes these episodes, this is one that I would, if I saw on, I would pay a little more attention to because I
Mhm.
enjoy it. And maybe it's I've lost a little bit of mystique for it because I mean we've been sitting here talking about it and we've quoted this episode really, really closely, so we know it really well. So I'm gonna go 7.9 on the episode as well.
Alright, yeah, I mean, I was gonna get near that. I love the episode, I think it's very unique in all those little, aspects, like when George cuts out holes on a shirt that's not fitting for it just to put those, cuffs in there, that he
Yeah,
got gifted for him, even though he just
yeah.
gave a piece of paper to somebody. That little thing like that, throughout the entire episode, those little nuggets are what make the episode hilarious to me. But I'm giving it an 8-1.
8-1, so
Yeah.
8-0, 8-0 all told. So, we didn't set any records today. We're still sitting on top. Stag at 9.3 is still our top bourbon so far. I can't remember which batch now. I think we're gonna eventually do a little, side episode where we compare a couple different batches of Stag that we have.
Yeah.
And then, the roasters, the Kenny Rogers Roasters at 8.95 is our favorite Seinfeld episode so far. So, but 8-0, very respectable. If you've been watching us for a while, you kind of seen, some different ratings we've had. And so, I think these are pretty good. Both of them, I
Yeah.
think did pretty well on our scale. So, once again, if you're watching us on YouTube right now, you can catch us on Spotify, Amazon, Apple podcasts. We also post reels on Instagram. We have some side episodes. We actually just filmed our first Seinfeld trivia episode. We're going to be doing some bourbon redemptions where we taste some bourbons in the past that we didn't really like or might have got a lower score. Also, eventually, hopefully, we're going to have a guest. We're going to talk about some bourbon trail trips we've done. So there's lots of exciting stuff coming. So this was episode 8. Once again, if you're listening to the audio, also head over to YouTube. Give us a like and a follow. YouTube's very, very hard to get going, and so any likes, follows that we get on YouTube are extremely helpful. So if you don't have anything else, my friend, I think that'll wrap us up for episode 8.
That was awesome. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, John. Appreciate it. Van Bourbon Boys are headed out.
Out.
Thanks, man.